Hey guys, it's me, Mr. T50, and welcome back to Umineko. We're back here waiting for Kinzo, but he's not around and stuff, and we found Maria, and we're probably slightly cold, and hopefully there were towels. Anyway, Cross, wearing a bitter smile, returned with Nanjo.
親父殿は相変わらずご気分が優れられないそうだ。年に一度の親族が集まるこの機会に同席できないことを
Does he really?
非常に残念
I'm
が
not
ら
so
れて
sure
おら
about
れ
that.
た。
Eva and Rudolph snickered. Snickered? I haven't... Is that like sneer and... I don't know. Judging by Kinzo's character, he didn't regret it at all. And none of his relatives regretted that he hadn't appeared either.
ではディナーを始めようじゃないか。ゴーダ、始めたまえ。
かしこまりました。それでは始めさせていただきます。
When Godo was told to begin the family conference dinner, his highlight scene for the whole year, he nodded, grinning broadly.
マリアに傘を貸してくれた人は誰かしら?
When Rosa timidly cut through the silence of the dining hall, everyone in the dining hall noticed.
傘?
That was redundant.
何の話? さっきマリアがバラ庭園にいた時に雨が降り出して誰かに白い傘を借りたみたいなんだけど、お礼が言いたくて。
俺たちじゃねえぜ。ローザが出てった後は部屋を移してずっと仲良く。
Oh, I'm sure there was nothing but friendly emotions going on.
はは、そうやで。あの後も兄弟で仲良くおしゃべりをしとったのや。
You keep emphasizing the friendly and it keeps making me nervous. The word friendly fell awkwardly from Hideyoshi's lips, so that even those that hadn't been there realized that it hadn't been a pleasant conversation.
少なくとも私とエヴァとルドルフと、あと秀吉さんとキリエさんではないことも確かだがね。
私たちは夏日姉さんとローザさんが出て行った後もずっと一緒だったわ。食事の時間までずっとね。
兄さんは源氏さんと一緒にお父様を呼びに上の書斎へ。
Unless he was lying and he was really going to give an umbrella to Maria. How suspicious.
私たちはそのまま食堂へ直行したもの。だから私たちではないわね。傘を貸すなんて親切、使用人の誰かじゃないの？じゃあ、ゴーダさん？
私はずっと厨房で準備をしておりましたもので。
Maybe that's what you want us to think. In reality, you're really an evil umbrella giver. Sort of.
申し訳ございません。
Goda looked slightly disappointed about missing this chance to show off. At that time, Shannon and Kumasawa appeared, pushing a serving cart loaded with hors d'oeuvres. Kumasawa seems like the one that would have done that, maybe. Yeah, either of them. You gave an umbrella to a small child. Shame on you. Shannon shrunk, having come in part way and mistakenly thinking that she was being accused of making some error.
違うよ。マリアちゃんがバラ庭園に一人でいた時に雨が降ってきてね。誰かが傘を貸してくれたんだよ。ローザおばさんがその人にお礼を言いたいって言うのさ。
ベアトリーチェ。
Maria, her mouth a thin line, said the witch's name in a small voice. Aunt Rosa explained the situation one more time. As she did, Kumasawa-san cackled.
私たちでもございませんよ。私もシャノンさんも一緒にお部屋の準備をしておりましたから。
There's some mysterious umbrella giver out there on the island. I told you, there's a crazy homeless guy and he probably just gave her the umbrella to distract her while he stole something.
はい。気が利かなくてすみません。
部屋の準備とは何のことかね。
この雨ですから、客人の皆さんがゲストハウスにお帰りになられるのも大変かと思って、使用人たちに屋敷内の客室の準備をするように命じたのです。
あら、気が利くじゃない。そうね。この雨の中、表に追い出すのは失礼だものね。
もう予算か。
はい。奥様からそのようにご指示を受けまして、私と熊沢さんとカノン君の3人で準備をしておりました。そしてご夕食の時間になり、源氏様からゲストハウスのお子様方をお呼びするようご指示をいただいたため、カノン君が言ってくれたのです。
ええ。ですからカノンさんがゲストハウスに行かれる時にマリアさんを見つけて傘をお渡ししたのではありませんか？
Doesn't seem like it.
ほー。
Uh-oh. Spooky wind.
違う。
The person who had actually received the umbrella denied it. Rosa was troubled. All she wanted to do was give a word of thanks to the person who had lent the umbrella, but she couldn't find them. And she had thought that asking like this with everyone gathered for dinner would work immediately.
じゃあ、夏日姉さん？
ごめんなさい。私は皆さんとの仲良くの語らいの後、
Friendly chats have a habit of doing that to
自分
you.
の部屋で休んでいました。ですから表へは出ていません。
なら誰なの？ジョージ君たち？なわけないわよね。
いえ、僕たちじゃありま
I
せん。
told you it's the crazy homeless guy that lives on your island.
僕たちはずっとゲストハウスでテレビを見てました。
むしろ私たちはマリアはおばさんと一緒に屋敷に行ったとばかり。
そこへカノン君が来て、マリアは一緒じゃないのかと聞いたんで、初めて屋敷にはいないのかって分かったんだよ。第一俺だったら傘を貸すより先に手引っ張って屋根の下に連れて行くぜ。
Rosa was completely baffled. One by one, the relatives and the servants were claiming it wasn't them. Even though it... Sorry. The music caught me off guard. Oh man, yep, that's the unnerving setting music, unnerving feelings. Even though it really wasn't something anyone would need to hide. With that, by process of elimination, the number of people it could have been wasn't large.
もちろん私でもありませんが、雨が降り始めてすぐの頃、金蔵さんの部屋を訪ねて、
Kinzo saying slip out of his window and give her an umbrella, maybe?
しておりました。
ということはおじい様でもないよね。
なんだなんだ、妙な話になってきたぜ。
Just a bit.
あと残るのは誰だ？
じゃあ誰？源氏さん？ちょっと待って。勘違いしないでくれる？別に私は何かの犯人探しを
I
して
mean,
るん
it
じゃないの
definitely feels like it.
雨の中のマリアに傘を差し伸べてくれた人に
And you're not trying to, in fact, find if there's some creepy person on the island handing out umbrellas. Giving an umbrella to a girl loitering in the rain was something to be praised, not hidden. Despite that, no one raised their hand. Why? Everyone started whispering about how strange this has gotten.
落ち着けよローザ。傘を借りた本人に聞けばいいじゃねえか。
That's what everyone had been thinking since the beginning. They were all scratching their heads at why she didn't just ask Maria, who had been given the umbrella. However, Rosa bit her lower lip. After all, she already knew how Maria would answer if asked.
どうりや。ルドルフ君の言う通りやないか。マリアちゃん、おじさんに教えてえな。マリアちゃんに傘を貸してくれたのは誰や？
The dining hall was wrapped in silence for an instant, but that soon broke and it was wrapped in laughter.
なるほど。森の魔女ベアトリーチェが不憫に思って傘を貸してくれたか。いい話じゃないかね。ローザ、そういうことだ。
Rosa couldn't believe it. Even though she wanted to say thanks for the umbrella, why did everything have to be so clouded in smoke?
クラウスおじさんの言う通り、ベアトリーチ 貸してくれたの。
それはよかった。無垢だというのは実に羨ましいことではないか。なあ諸君。
Cross was laughing with a face that was clearly mocking her. But Maria, apparently feeling that her claim was being believed, was overjoyed.
一体どうなってんの？まさか本当に魔女が現れて傘を貸したってのかよ。
Of course not. Witches aren't real. Jessica asked me in a small voice that wouldn't carry over to Maria, who was sitting across from me.
マリアって冗談が言えるタイプだっけ？
If we had heard that kind of story pop up out of that old man's mouth, we would have taken it as just another joke. However, it was hard to explain it that way when Maria said it. This was getting pretty unnerving.
いや、昔から愚直なぐらい正直で真面目だよ。普通なら聞いただけで嘘とわかるような冗談すら鵜呑みにするタイプだぜ。マリアから冗談を言い出すなんて聞いたこともない。
Aunt Rosa probably knew that better than anyone. It appeared that because of this weird situation, she had no idea what was going on anymore.
じゃあマリアがベアトリーチェに傘を借りたと言ったなら、それはマリアに関してだけは何かの比喩とか冗談とかそういうことは考えられねえぜ。額面通りの意味だと思うべきだろうよ。じゃあなんだよ、源氏さんあたりがあの肖像画のごついドレスを着てマリアに傘を持って行ってやったっていうのか。
Wow, that'd be kind of awkward, but I guess.
そんなことは知らねえぜ。私が聞きたいくらいさ。
Jessica shrugged jokingly, but her expression wasn't completely joking. Once the hors d'oeuvres were set out and Goto showed off his vast store of knowledge, the meal began. A couple casual chats broke out here and there, but they seemed somehow distant. In this silence, the sound of rain snuck into the dining hall. Spooky! Kumasawa and Shannon, pushing the serving cart, ran into Genji and Cannon on their way to the kitchen.
ケンジさんですか？マリア様に傘を貸されたのは。
傘？何のことだ？
はい。雨が降り出した時に、マリア様は一人でバラ庭園におられたそうで、そこでどなたかに傘をお借りになったそうなのですが、それがどなたかわからないのです。
僕じゃないよ。マリア様はゲストハウスにいると思ってたくらいだからね。バトラ様が最初に見つけられた時にはもう白い傘をお持ちだった。
申し訳ないがそれは私でもない。
じゃあまさか親方様でしょうか。
Everyone in both the dining hall and the place where they were standing had stated that it wasn't them, which meant that only Kinzo was left, but...
何かのご用で廊下を歩かれている時、偶然バラ庭園に傘もささないマリア様が見えたとか。
親方様はマリア様のことをあまりお好きではない。
同感だね。親方様がマリア様のために直々に開花までお越しになって傘をお持ちくださるとは考えられないよ。
ではマリア様に傘をお貸しになられたのは本当にベアトリーチェ様ってことに。
Kumasawa laughed, just like the relatives in the dining hall had laughed it off. She couldn't think of any other way to break through the smoke veiling the current situation. Just then, the crisp sound of hands clapping twice rang through the hallway. They all turned around at once to see that it was Goda, who was coming out of the dining hall.
さあさあ皆さん、ディナーは配膳のタイミングも大事です。すぐにスープの配膳に取り掛かってください。源氏さん、彼女らは大切なお仕事中ですのでお引き止めになられないでください。
I'm looking at you with my angry face. Kanon glared at Goda for being rude to Genji, a person Kanon respected. Genji, realizing this, patted Kanon once on the shoulder as if to warn him. Kanon reluctantly turned away, and returned his expression to normal.
ゴーダの指示に従いなさい。今は晩餐の配膳を急ぐように。
ほらほら、時間がありません。タラタラしない。急ぎますよ。
Goda grabbed the serving cart from Shannon and steadily pushed it towards the kitchen.
では、私どもも厨房に戻らせていただきます。ゴーダさんも気の短い方ですからね。
私もこれで失礼いたします。
Kumasawa and Shannon left. Only Genji and Kanon remained. Through the window, the darkness of the rainy night could be seen, along with the occasional thunderbolt.
源氏様、ベアトリーチェ様が本当にお戻りになられたのでしょうか。
わからん。
親方様にお知らせしますか。
せずともよい。本当にお戻りになられたなら、やがておのずと親方様の前へ現れよう。それであれは気まぐれなお方。親方様にご報告申し上げたところで、お姿。
親方様の儀式はすでに始まっているということでしょうか。
Oh man, they know about it too.
おそらく。だがそれは我ら家具には何の関わりもないこと。親方様に受けたご恩、最後の瞬間までお返しするのみだ。
Possibly hinting at something that he did for them?
はい。それが僕たち家具の務めです。
The thunder crashed once more. Except for that instant when the lightning lit up the sky, all that could be seen out the window was the darkness of night. Just as humans rule when the sun is up, the time when the sun is down is ruled by those that are not human. The darkness of night now surrounded Rokenjima was ruled, not by the Ushiromiya family, but by another master. Did this master take pity on Maria when she was alone and pummeled by the rain in the rose garden, and lend her an umbrella? Kanon looked at the rose garden lights, dimly visible beyond the window. The dim lights were not enough to illuminate the surrounding area. Looking at those lights felt like making eye contact with a witch, and Kanon uselessly averted his gaze. If he didn't, it felt like his eyes would be absorbed by that light. Can the weather change how people act? Oh, sure, definitely. You often hear stories about how things like atmospheric pressure can influence people's moods and physical health. I mean, for one, if like a tsunami's coming, people don't normally go to the grocery store, they hide. For some time now, everyone had been struggling to clear the gloomy atmosphere. But any conversation was quickly cut off, and in the end, the dining hall was simply buried by the sound of the rain. Dessert was some kind of chocolate cake, accompanied by pear sherbet. Goda enthusiastically explained the recipe as soon as this final dish was presented. But I quickly forgot the details. The guest of honor, grandfather, was absent. The weather was horrible, and the person who had lent Maria the umbrella was still a mystery. When dinner ended, no one felt even one bit refreshed. It was too late now, but we realized painfully that taste wasn't the only important part of a meal. The whole atmosphere was also critical. Goda-san, the supposed conductor of this musical piece called Dinner, did his best to enliven the place, dropping little jokes left and right, but apparently not one of them succeeded. After taking orders for after-dinner coffee, tea, and orange juice, he left for the kitchen. As soon as he disappeared, Cross Oji-san spoke.
やれやれ。せっかくゴーダが腕を振るってくれた晩餐も、こうも沈み込んでしまっては実に味気ないというものだ。
まったくね。今日は何を食べても美味しく感じられない、そういう気分よ。
ほう。どうしてそういう気分なのか聞きたいね。心が晴れ晴れできるよう、兄として後で協力させてもらうよ。
Aunt Eva grimaced slightly. I had already heard that she was not on good terms with Cross-Oji-sen, but now I could clearly feel it. When I looked around, I noticed that my father and Aunt Rosa were also grimacing. Anyhow, it looked like there was something besides the weather that was troubling all of them.
エヴァおばさんもうちの親父もずいぶん機嫌が悪そうっすね。
そう？私はそうは思いませんよ。
I asked Aunt Natsui, who was sitting on my right, but it looked like she was also in a bad mood. She snapped back as though she was absolutely not interested. I'm sure she's not.
まあちょいと大人な話で込み入ってな。バトラ君たち子供は気にせんでええ話や。なあ夏井さん、桐江さん。
Hideyoshi Oji-san laughed as he spoke, but without his usual brightness. So I could vaguely imagine just how complicated their adult conversation had actually become. On top of that, even Aunt Natsui and Kirie-san, the people he had directed his comment to, ignored him as though they hadn't heard anything. I didn't know what kind of conversation they had been having while the kids were away, but it reminded me of how Father said that he had stomach cramps when we arrived at the mansion. The family conference might have been a playful reunion to us kids, but it was definitely different for the adults. When Hideyoshi Oji-san was ignored by the other adults, and an awkward silence fell over the room, Kirie-san spoke up.
子供たちの進路はどうなるのかしらとか、そういう話よ。バトラ君は将来はどうするの？
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
ぼんやりと大学進学？そんなのじゃ長い人生レースのスタートラインとしては心細いわよ。
あいたたたたたた。桐江さん、飯の最中にそんな話されちまったら消化不良で便秘になっちまうぜ。
そうやそうや、バトラ君やジェシカちゃんの進路の話をしとったんや。将来のことは真剣に考えんとあかんで。
Hideyoshi heartily agreed as if they had really been talking about that, but that was probably wrong. Kirie-san had been obviously trying to avoid talking about something. However, if Kirie-san had determined that this was the best course of action for now, then she was probably right. Taking this into account, I'll cast aside my suspicions as to the cause behind Aunt Eva and Dad's bad moods. At long last, the serving cart returned, filled with coffee and tea. Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan served it to everyone. Goto-san then explained that, with this, tonight's dinner was over. If I had been able to eat in a more cheerful mood, it might have been the best dinner of my life. It was a shame that this best dinner couldn't have been under the best conditions.
ジョージお兄ちゃん、これでご飯は終わり？
うん、これでおしまいだよ。
はしてないわよ。お席について落ち着いてジュースを飲みなさい。
Maria looked like she was really excited about the occasional crashing thunder. Maybe she wanted to quickly finish eating and run over to the window. She had been fidgeting for a while, waiting for the meal to end. Some people are afraid of thunder, while others find it interesting, and Maria was one of the latter. Therefore, when she heard from George Aniki that dinner was over, a huge smile broke across her face. She then stood from her seat, took out her handbag, which she had set under her seat, never having left it even while she was eating, and began fishing around inside of it. No one seemed particularly concerned with this behavior.
なんだい？それどこから持ってきたの？
George was the first to notice it. As he spoke, Battler also noticed. Ooh. It's a Western-style envelope with a wax seal and the Ushiramiya family, insignia thing on it. When they looked, they noticed Maria was now holding a beautiful Western-style envelope. On the front of the envelope, the Ushiramiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was done in gold leaf. Furthermore, the fact that it was sealed with a dark red wax made it clear that this was not something Maria could have bought as a prank, or brought.
Maria-chan, それは何？
That is rather fancy. It seemed that Natsui had also noticed the strangeness of the envelope that Maria was holding. Because her voice sounded too serious to be admonishing a small child, the other relatives around her finally noticed.
どうしたよ、夏日姉さん。
それ、何？マリア、あなた、それをどこで拾ったの？
その封筒は、金蔵さんの。
As Nanjo muttered that, even us kids could understand why everyone seemed to be frozen solid. The envelope that Maria held was one of the Ushirimiya family head's custom-made envelopes for private use. In other words, it could only mean one thing. This envelope contained a message from Kinzo.
どうしてそんな封筒がここにあるんだね。こいつは面白いもんが飛び出してくるぜ。
ちょいとわしに見せてみ。
ダメ、マリアが読むの。マリアがみんなに読んで聞かせなさいって言われたの。
Who gave you the envelope, Maria? Is it the crazy man in the woods again? Hideyoshi Oji-san tried to snatch the envelope from Maria's hands, but she protected it as though hugging it, and didn't let go.
秀吉兄さん、子供相手に力ずくなんていけませんよ。マリアちゃん、その封筒はどうしたの？
傘を貸してくれた時にベアトリーチェにもらった。
It's the crazy man in the wood who's stolen Kinzo's fancy envelopes.
ご飯が終わったらマリアがみんなに読んで聞かせろって言われた。マリアは魔女のメッセンジャーなの。
メッセンジャー？この島の魔女様は随分と洒落てるじゃねえかよ。
Battler tried to joke about it, but no one went along with him.
それで中には何て書いてあるのかしら、マリアちゃん。
Maria casually opened the envelope. It was sealed only with wax, so she just had to remove the sealing wax to open it. That sealing wax fell onto the desk. Hideyoshi hastily picked it up and stared fixedly at it. He then set it in the center of the table, where Natsui, Kirie, and Nanjo glared at it. In the sealing wax, the Ushirimiya family crest, which was also Kinzo's personal crest, the one-winged eagle was imprinted.
これは当主様の紋章？
私は金蔵さんに手紙をもらったことがあるからわかる。これは間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。
でもこのお屋敷にはそれと同じ紋章がいくつもあるのでは？例えば風浪用のハンコのようなものがあれば、金蔵さんでなくても風浪はできるのでは？
Yeah, I know back in the day they were a decent sealing device. You know, back when people actually used to use wax seals to seal things. But now I feel like a wax seal could be quite easily duplicated.
いや、金蔵さんは風浪には必ず自分が指にしている後ろ宮家当主の証の指輪で刻印をする。この形や複雑な意匠は間違いなく金蔵さんの風浪だ。そうとは限らんよ。親族であれば一度くらいは親父の手紙を受け取ったことはあるはずだ。その風浪をもとに偽の紋章を作り、
Exactly, that's not that hard. Not in this day and age. And definitely not with their amount of money that they've got available to them.
兄貴に同感だ。風浪に刻印されている紋章がどれだけ親父のものに酷似していたとしても、だからその封筒が親父のものであるという証拠にはならない。
私も全く同じよ。風浪の刻印だけでお父様の手紙だなんて決めつけることには同意できないわ。南條先生、曖昧な言葉は慎んでいただけるかしら。
これは失礼。出過ぎた口でしたな。
One after another, all of the siblings from Cross on downwards rejected Nanjo's statement, saying that the envelope that Maria was holding had not necessarily been sent by Kinzo. They were afraid. Kinzo's intentions were written in there. and they feared from the bottom of their hearts that it might be some decidedly unfavorable announcement regarding the inheritance.
マリア、その封筒は傘を貸してくれた人がくれたのね。
Ooh!
じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？
つまり魔女ベアトリーチェが傘と一緒にマリアちゃんにその封筒を。
Maria nodded forcefully.
主人に私も同感です。得体の知れない何者かが手渡した怪文書です。読むにも値しません。
せめて読むくらいいいじゃねえかよ。まあ。
Battler said it to Jessica in a small voice, trying to act tough, but not so he heard him clearly and glared at him with threatening eyes.
それでマリアはベアトリーチェに食事が終わったら読めって言われたんだな。
いいじゃないの皆さん。これはおじい様の封筒ではなくベアトリーチェの封筒。誰が書いたのかはともかく中身を聞いてからの判断でもいいんじゃないかしら。
そうやな。お父さんが書いたとは限らんが中身が気になるんは事実や。マリアちゃん、さっきは無理やり取ろうとしてすまんかった。謝るからみんなの前でそれ読み上げてくれんか。
マリア、読みなさい。
As all of the relatives stared fiercely at Maria, she spread the letter open with a rustle.
本当に親父の手紙だと思うか？
Who knows?
ありえんね。親父殿が私たちに何かを発表するときは直接でなければいつだって現実
Yeah,
を通して
exactly.
じ
He
ゃない。
wants to throw you off here.
このようなこじゃれた方法でするとは思えんね。
そうよ。マリアをメッセンジャーに？それこそお父様の趣味じゃないわよ。ローザ、これはマリアちゃんが私たちを脅かそうという何かの隠し芸なんでしょ？
マリアはそんな気の利いたことができる子じゃないわ。
The words came out of Maria's mouth, but for some reason it felt like her voice was different than usual. Everyone went suddenly silent.
六軒島へようこそ、後ろ宮家の皆様方。
I wasn't expecting music like this, I guess. It's cool though. Anyway. Sorry, distracting. Distracting, very distracting. Let's end it here, and then next time we will continue from here and see what the letter has to stay in full. Thanks for watching. Bye!